Neha, can you please introduce yourself to our audience who are watching us
Sure.
right
First
now?
of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. There are so many lovely, amazing nurses out there, and you giving me this opportunity to come and share my experience. I feel super grateful. And for all the audience who are watching me right now, my name is Neha Gupta. I am originally from Nepal. I've been working in this healthcare industry for over 7 years now. I'm a full time registered nurse. I'm a small business owner and a part-time content creator. Content creation journey I've just started over a year and I'm enjoying it.
Neha, what inspired you to pursue a
Um,
career
I
as a
think I would be
nurse?
completely lying if I said that I was super passionate about nursing before I joined it. I have a very funny story. Actually, I was always a poor student in maths throughout my school life, and my mother always pinpointed that I'm not good at maths. I think that left some kind of scar in my mind that I'm not good at math. So as soon as I got the opportunity to leave the subject, I left it. So I did not study maths in grade 12. So after completing grade 12, either it was doing engineering, IT, or studying doctor. And I've not been a very bright kid. I was the average student. So I joined NIMS class in Bagbazar. It was like a medical entrance preparation class. So we used to go there every morning. And back home, there was so many consultancies in the way. So once my friend took me, and then you know how consultancy people are, they talk so sweet and everything is so easy. So they were like, this is good. So it's very easy. And they made me feel like this is so easy. So I came back home and told my parents, I'll go to Australia, I'll do nursing. In 3 years, I'll have PR. Life would be easy. And it sounded so easy. So I easily convinced, oh my God, the way they explain things and the reality is so different. But I think I was just 18. I was the first one in my family to come abroad. So, factors of many things. But having said that, 7 years after I've come to Australia, I think I love my profession now. It didn't happen overnight, but I feel like the impact I can make in people's lives, it's worth it. I do not regret my decision.
Neha, you migrated from Nepal to Australia and you studied nursing. Can you please share some simple tips for those people who are studying nursing regarding their placement, hunting for a job, finding supporting networks,
Uh,
and passing the
sure.
exam?
I think the first thing is the mindset. Because as myself, when I came to Australia, I was just 18 years old. So I did not have a lot of network. I did not know a single person. I did not have a family member or a friend. So I think it's very important to network in right place. The mindset, like when we come to Australia, we think like it's a different country. We always have this mindset of putting ourselves down. So what I would suggest to all the new beginners is have the right mindset. So have the right mindset, even if you're going to nursing school or placement. Be enthusiastic, be eager to learn, and know that you are paying so much of money to be there. So you are worth it to be there. Don't ever underestimate yourself thinking, oh, I am an international student. Oh, English is not my first language. So if you do like that, your confidence will go down. So always think, oh, I deserve to be here. I have paid so much money to be here. So I should make worthwhile of everything. That would be my tip for placement or studying. For job hunting, I would say that you should have clear strategy of what you want. So when I used to find job, I used to apply everywhere. I wouldn't look for location. I wouldn't look what they're looking, which will affect you in long term because I was living in Brisbane. I was applying everywhere. I remember I worked 6 months in Gold Coast because I had no job. I did not smart plan. I was like, oh, I found this job, so I'll just keep going on. So I think it is very important to have a strategy. What is your yes and what is your no? How far you are eager to travel, what you are ready to do. Once you apply a job, people leave it up to. If they don't respond, they feel like, oh, my luck is not good. What am I doing wrong? It doesn't stop there. You have to keep following up. So there are two ways to follow up. Either you give them a call. You'll be like, oh, I'm not that confident person. I don't feel confident calling. You just email them. There's no harm. They're not going to eat you. Either they're going to say yes or no, right? Okay, fine. If you follow up and if they say no, just ask them like, what's wrong in my resume or what can I improve for next time? So at least you have a feedback in mind rather than just applying and you'll be like, oh, I haven't got any response. You keep on doing the same thing. So where is the progress, right? So I would say active following up is very, very important when it comes to job hunting. Support network. When you come to university, our university has so much of support network we don't know. As a Nepalese community, I feel so sad to say this. but we just rely on our people, our friends, and that is the main mistake we do. Because when we come to university, we're paying, this is so much money. We should make most out of it. So if you go to your university pages, there is some kind of program happening every week, some kind of networking happening every week. So you should be able to go to those programs. So who is going to find that out for me? You have to do it yourself. No one's gonna come like, hey Neha, this is happening this weekend, wanna join? It's not gonna happen like that. So you have to go to university's website and check what's happening. And like that, you start networking to people. And I think joining Facebook groups on networking, there are apps where you can talk to people about networking. So these are the small things you should do. For example, if I scroll on my Facebook page and if I'm looking for support network, right? Tomorrow, same thing is gonna come. But if I'm scrolling through my Facebook and I'm searching some viral trend, same thing is gonna come. So I need to have my priorities stayed straight. I won't say like every time we have to do this, but what's most important to you right now? As a student, what was important to me? As a nurse, what is important to me? So I need to have my priorities clear. So I think everything comes down to mindset. So you should have a proper mindset and know what you want, if that kind of makes sense.
Can you share one worst experience during your nursing job career? Like, have you
Oh,
experienced some
so
worst
many
experience?
worst experience. But I'll share this experience. Still, I feel bad sometimes when I think about it. So I was working as an after-hour supervisor in this aged care. I would take the name, but I was working as after-hour supervisor. So I was looking under two RNs and one EN, and it was around 98 bed home. So I was the in charge. I took the handover and then I did my things what I was supposed to do. And there was this one resident who was sick. So I talked to the EN who was looking after the resident, and then I was checking on the EN, and the EN was giving me updates. He said everything is fine, everything is under control. And I was telling him that if he needs any help, I'll come and help him anytime. So we talked about it. My shift ended, right? 2 days later, I come back to my work. And this personal care worker, she approached me at the door and she goes, you know what? That resident, she passed away in the hospital. And I was because I came to work after 2 days. But she made me sound as if I did not look after the resident on my shift properly. That's why she passed away. And because I did not have all the information, because I was just entering my workplace, I didn't know what happened because she was fine at my shift, right? She was from Nepal as well. So she was like, you know, she was vomiting. She was vomiting. She made such a huge deal. And she's non-clinical and clinical. So I didn't overreact. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go and have a chat. I came back to work. I was checking her file. So that resident went to hospital 2 days after my shift, and then she passed away in the hospital. So it's not like I did not look after that resident in my shift and she passed away, but the personal care worker, went to all the nurses saying that I did not come personally to see the resident on my shift. I was very, very traumatized because the way she was talking, because she had no clinical knowledge at all. And she did not know what I was talking to the EN. She had no idea. She just was like, oh, the resident was vomiting and the nurse did not come to see her. That's why the resident passed away. For her, it was that simple, but there's so many things involved. I was really, really, really traumatized when I heard things like that. And I was talking to my co-nurses and they were like, you're doing a good job. You know what you're doing and you should confront her. And I was new to that workplace. So I was like, I'm not sure. And she was from Nepal as well. So I was like, I did not want to be that bossy RN who goes and confronts her. I went and had a chat with my manager because I did not feel right. And the resident had passed away. So I had that guilt because I did not go and see the resident personally, but I knew what I was doing. I went and had with the chat with the manager, and the manager gave me options what I wanted to do. She analyzed everything and she was like, do you want that carer? If you want, we can like suspend her. And I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. I know what she did. I don't know what her intentions were, but I was like, just because of one incident, I don't want other person's job to go just because she did that to me. So I said, I don't want to do that. And I think after a few months, I left that workplace. But that impact, that was I took few days off because it was like very traumatizing for me. And yeah, I think that was the worst experience. during my nursing career throughout, because I've been a nurse for nearly 4 years now, and that was the most traumatizing one.
Neha, I can feel you. You started your nursing career, and the workplace is different rather than theoretical knowledge. And I believe that in the initial, now I think you are stroke because it already become 4 years of your nursing career. But at the initial phase, I think lots of people are struggling. They face lots and lots of challenges in terms of different backgrounds, people. And when you are at the initial phase, you can be traumatized and your mental health can be happen. Can you please suggest some simple tips for those nurses who are in the initial stage of our career to set a boundary at the
Sure.
workplace?
So I think I learned it very hard way after struggling and, lots of an experiment. But I would say setting up a boundary is very important from the very beginning. Like, as a new nurse, you feel like, oh, you've got so much of responsibility. You want to people please. You want to be that nice nurse. So you say yes to everything, which is not good. If you think for a longer term, it's not going to sustain you. So you should be able to learn to say no from the very beginning. You should be like, okay, if your manager comes to you and delegates this much work and you cannot do it, you have to be able to say to your manager, look, this is in my work schedule. So you've given me more tasks. Do you want me to reschedule this other things? Do you want me to eliminate, or do you want me to delegate it to someone? Because I can't do it in this time. So you have to set your intentions clear. Second thing is taking your breaks when you need to, because I've seen so many nurses, and I was one of those nurses who used to not take breaks and work for the company. For example, if I finish my work at 3 o'clock, I would stay extra and finish my work just to be that nice nurse. It doesn't sustain you in long term. When they make your shift, they know how much you can do, how much you cannot do. So you putting yourself into too much pressure is not going to sustain yourself in long run, because when you think about it, these are bigger organization, and those organization have so many different nurses, so many different staff. But when you look at yourself, you are the one for yourself. So if you fall sick, if you are mentally stressed, you are not going to come to work the next day. So at initial days, it's going to be very difficult because you want to be people pleaser. But I would say have a strategy in place. Learn to set boundaries at the very beginning. Say no. If someone asks you to stay longer, no. So at least one person will come to me and ask me, Neha, can you stay longer? I'll say no once. I'll say no twice. From third time, that person will not come and ask me because they know I'll say no. So you need to be that. And I think another thing is to tell how you're feeling. For example, I'm struggling, I'm drowning. But if I'm not telling it to my manager, my supervisor, they don't know. And they'll keep on giving me more work. So I think it is very important to be vocal about what you feel. If you're feeling overwhelmed, tell them. If you're feeling fine, tell them. If you're feeling like, oh, I feel like when I work with this coworker, I feel a bit overwhelmed, stressed. So you need to be more vocal so that they know and they can provide some support. If you tell them and if they don't provide support, that is a different story. I would suggest leaving workplace, but at least be vocal. Try to say your feelings. At least you have done your best. And even after that, if you have to leave that place, then at least at the end of the day, back of your mind, you know that you've done your best. So I would suggest that.
Neha, do you have anxiety before your job?
Now I don't. Some days I do, but most of the time I don't. But I used to be very, very anxious. So I think there's two kind of anxiety you have. One anxiety is like you don't know what you're doing because you are new. You don't know what your work is, right? So when I first started, I used to work in this vaccination clinic. And I used to feel so anxious. Even during my sleep, I used to roll around and I'm talking about vaccine. So that's anxiety. But it went with time because my work people were very supportive. And slowly I learned and I knew what I was doing. Second type of anxiety was when I started working in aged care. So I couldn't sleep at night. My shift would start 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm just thinking about work. I'm preparing about work and I'm still dreaming about work, right? And I used to feel so anxious. And that anxiety never went because the workplace was toxic. So I slowly learned what I was doing. I knew about my work, but the workplace was toxic. Every time I was going to work, I used to feel super, super, super anxious. There are strategies which will help you to overcome anxiety, but you need to identify which kind of anxiety you have. Either it's a toxic workplace anxiety or if it's an anxiety related to your work, which you can do better. If it's workplace anxiety, then I would recommend doing like deep breathing exercises, planning your shift beforehand, listening to something uplifting. I would always suggest listening to some podcast which will help in your career wise, so that every time you go to work, you feel like I've learned something new, so you feel confident. So I would suggest doing that. But if it's related to management and if things are not getting better, I would just say that accept your feelings, accept your anxious, and have a plan to move forward. Be it finding another job or leaving it. Because at the start of your career, lots of people feel like, oh, this is it. I have to stay here because I'll not find a better workplace. And they cope up with anxiety every day and they feel bad. They come back home, they cry, they feel sad, they don't want to go to work, but they repeat it because they just think like there's nothing better for them. But if that's ongoing, I would highly suggest to leave that workplace because better opportunities are always there.
It's a personal question and it's your choice to answer it or not. You came in Australia as a migrant when you were too young and you studied nursing alone. I can understand you had lots and lots of challenges. Now it has already been 4 years of your nursing career. And I believe that you are a strong and a confident nurse. But my personal question, how many times did you change your job to become a strong and confident nurse?
One thing about me is I won't settle. At the initial phase of my career, I did not know any better. So I was like, yeah, this is it. But I never settled. So I was always looking for something better. So even after nursing, I changed a few fields to figure out what I liked. Right after I graduated, I was sure I didn't want to become an aged care nurse because I knew it was so much of hard work, so much of stress, not worse the anxiety. So I always wanted to become a GP nurse. So I applied straight after I got my registration. I was applying to become a GP nurse. So firstly, I did community nursing for a while. Then I did GP nurse. Then I worked as vaccination nurse. Then I moved to aged care because I got better position, better pay. So I was like, yeah, why not? I just did that for like few months and I was like, no, this is not worth the money, not worth the stress. So I moved from aged care. I worked as agency nurse for nearly 6 months. And I think that was the time where my confidence boosted because I was working to a new workplace every time, not knowing anything and doing things. I also did cosmetic nursing for a while. I started training for cosmetic nursing, but I figured out that's not for me. And at the moment, I do telehealth nursing. So I just changed few to figure out where I want. So yeah. And I'm still looking for better options. I'm like, now what's next? So I'm still looking.
What suggestion do you want to give to those people who change their jobs frequently? Personal opinion.
You need to figure out what you want because we spend 80% of our life in our work. So you should be happy what you're doing, right? And I think a lot of people don't know different options they have because many people are just limited to aged care nursing or hospital nursing. Oh, I also did hospital, which I hate. Hospital or aged care, like many people are not aware of various options they have. So what I would suggest, it's okay to switch to jobs until you find what's better for you. And you must be happy at the end of the day. Nursing is a profession where we care about others, right? So every time I'm going to work and I'm like, oh, I have to go to work. That's not the attitude you take to work. So if it takes a little bit of trial and error, but if you're happy at the end, I think that's all it matters. Don't care about what other people say. People have always something to say, but you should be happy at the end of the day.
On the social media platform, you have mentioned that you visit psychologist once a month. Can you please elaborate and how helpful was it for you?
It's been a bit of a journey. So now I see a psychologist every month, but I was diagnosed with clinical depression back in 2017. I did not know what depression was back then, and I did not go to the doctor to find what's wrong with me. I think I went to do some blood work for my university placement. And then touchwood, lucky doctor, she did a holistic approach and then she did some assessment and she was like, yeah, you're depressed. And back then I was just suppressing my feelings. I did not know. I thought something is wrong with me. I did not talk to anyone because I just felt this emptiness. I felt sadness. I used to be inside my room all day and I used to feel something is wrong with me. It's not the environment. I'm just being lazy. I'm just sleeping. I could do better. I was just like, telling these things to myself. And I did not know what depression was because I think I was 18 or 19. And back in Nepal, depression is not a big thing. Like now it's slowly growing, but we did not know what depression was. So back then, my GPC suggested me to see a psychologist, and I was scared of the cost. I was an international student, barely I was able to save my uni fee, and I was not working as well because I was sad all the time. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And then she goes, oh, what's your main issue? Is it that you're not ready to open up, or is it something else? So I explained both things to her because that was completely a new thing. Me expressing my feelings to someone else. No, I was like, I don't feel comfortable. But she explained me everything. And as an international student, when you go to see a psychologist in your university, it gets covered. So you don't have to pay that amount. So it's all free. So that's good, right? I did not know that. So once I knew that, I was like, okay, I'll just try once. I'm not very up for it, but I'll try one. I went for my first session and it felt awkward because I don't know what I'm feeling, and I'm telling that to a completely different person from completely different country who doesn't understand what I'm going through. It was different, but I think they provide such a safe space for you to express what you're feeling, and all your feelings are validated without judgment. I was quite surprised because when we started our session, she was like, all the things we discuss here is going to be confidential. So you don't have to worry about, they judging you or fearing. So I started opening up. And I started seeing a difference. I wouldn't say I saw difference like first session I went. It was awkward at beginning. Slowly, I started seeing a difference. And now I've changed few psychologists over time. So now it's mostly about reflecting how I feel. It's mostly about managing my emotion. So I think it has helped me. I see them every month so that I'm grounded because there's so much of negativity around me as well because of nursing and content creation I do. So they help me recognize my feelings and emotions and strategies in place. So if something happens, what do I do? Because I had no idea how to deal with things. Now at least I have a strategy in place what I do. For all the people who are thinking to start therapy or start, they always have confusion. I did as well. So what I would say is just try it and see, and don't expect that if you go in the very first session you'll start seeing a difference, because you won't. You need to build a relationship with your therapist as well. It takes a little bit of time, but trust the process because this is the work you're doing it for yourself. Because the pain you are going through, no one else can understand. Even your parents can't understand what you're going through, and it's hard to explain. So I think it was a long journey for me because I had no guidance. I was confused. And then I used to share my feelings with friends, thinking that they wouldn't judge me, and then turned out completely different. So at least I'm sharing my feelings with someone who is a professional, who knows how to help, who is listening to me without a judgment, and who is providing safe space for me. So rather than just venting out to a friend, I think if you really think that you're in a stage that you're feeling sad or you don't know what you're feeling, it's better to go and ask for help.
Neha, have you seen psychologists in Nepal too?
No,
Do you
I
have any
don't.
experience at
Sorry.
Nepal? I want to share my experience. It was at the end of 2023. I was not depressed. I was not mentally breakdown, but I was emotionally struggling because of different situation in my family. I was in Nepal and I thought to visit a psychologist. I don't want to degrade the profession of psychologist at Nepal, but I just want to make clear to my audience who are residing in Nepal that all psychologists are not good. I visited three psychologists in Nepal. My experience, like I was not depressed. I was not mentally breakdown. I just wanted to be emotionally stable because the people will judge you and you don't feel comfortable to share everything with the people and you just want a safe place to share your opinion. And I visited a psychologist at Butol, Nepal, and I was saying that this is my situation and I'm emotionally struggling and I just want to do something, like I was struggling hard. And that psychologist shouted at me. And I was like, what? And I just told him, what sort of psychologist are you? I'm just here to share my opinions and why are you not validating my feelings? And I just ignored him and I just went to one of the reputed hospital of Nepal. I won't say name, but if I have to say, I am ready to raise the voice. I just took my appointment and I just went to the place to share my feelings. And there were at least 25 to 30 people taking a note and a pen and just listening you. And there was one professional psychologist, and all of them were the students. Like, how can I express my feeling in front of 25 to 30 people? And the community of Nepal, and I am one of the public figure on the social media platform, and in front of 25 to 30 people is big no. And I just ignored that hospital too. And again, I went to the another psychologist because I was emotionally not stable because my dad was sick and like lots of things was going on regarding his health, and I just wanted to be strong daughter. And I went to another psychologist, and he straight away gave me the medication, and I was like, I don't need medication. Like, I completely don't need medication. The thing is, because I'm emotionally not stable, I am not able to sleep properly. But I don't want to rely on medication. That's not my problem. But he was just doing a business. And I don't know, like, I still want to raise a voice and complain to those psychologists because I was not suffering from mental health, but the people who are really, really struggling with their mental health journey, I think they will go to the stage of suicidal if they go visit the psychologist. And I don't know how to raise a voice, but I really, really want to raise a voice. But I haven't visited psychologist in Australia, but in Australia, you found it very safe, secure, and confidential, right?
Yes and no. Firstly, I feel very sorry that you had to go through that experience because it is traumatic, like expressing your feelings in front of a lot of people. For my journey, I would say 80% of the time, safe, yes. But as I said, it's hard to find the right person. So I have tried so many different psychologists. So once I went to the psychologist, and I think she was like 40s or 50s. She was from Pakistan. She was a very lovely lady, and I used to express my problems, and she used to tell me, "Oh, just cook. Everything will be fine." And here I am struggling to get out of bed, struggling to motivate myself. And she'll be like, just cook. Everything will be fine. I don't like cooking. I can't. I had to leave her. I was seeing this psychologist. She used to read me things. Like, I'm telling her my problems, and she would be like, "So, Neha, this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. I can read myself." So I think it's a process. It's really hard to find a good psychologist, but there is safe environments. As in Nepal, there's not like a lot. It's all about finding a person who connects with you. Because I was seeing a psychologist, like the same one for 2 years, and worked wonders for me. I used to be so excited for my therapy sessions because it was not always about sad things. Sometimes I would have achieved something and I'd be like, oh my God, I felt this way. So it was a journey. And then she had to quit as well. So I think it was earlier this year, I was finding few psychologists and I was struggling, but finally I found one. So I'm happy about it. So I think the main thing is to try and to see same person. If you see different person, it's very hard to build a rapport because what I feel, we growing up in Nepali community, we have so much of trauma which we don't even know, like childhood trauma. And then when we tell our problems, it's just not surface level. So much deep down that needs to be worked on, and then we come here. So I think it's going to be a little bit of time and hard work and progress slowly rather than just like, oh, I have depression, I have anxiety. It doesn't work that way. So you need to like come slowly from the grounds. So yeah, I think it is a very slow process. Once you find the right person, you will start seeing changes for sure.
To all the psychologists who are watching this podcast, I just want to suggest that it's a high prioritized job. You are taking the life of the people, so don't take it easily and don't out to your client, which I experienced. And I was not depressed. I was not mentally broke down. Like, I was just emotionally state. And what I did after visiting three psychologists, and I went to Vipassana, like, which is a silence meditation. I just locked myself. I just did the breathing work, and after 10 days, I figured out how can I manage my emotions, and I just sit silently and read a book, and that completely healed me. I just need some words to motivate me, right? And most of the psychologists didn't help me, and I had
Also
to
about
help
the
myself.
medication you said. So because I've been seeing them for such a long time, right? They never force you medication. Like they will analyze you, they'll do like non-pharmacological things and strategies. And now if they think like really you need to start on medications, they won't be like you need to take medication. They'll give you options. Do you want to or not? I think 2 years ago they gave me the option and I was like, I really don't want to be dependent on medication. I know my situation is bad, but I really don't want to start taking medication. And they were completely fine. They understood my point of view. So they were like, okay, Neha, let's try non-pharmacological strategies. Rather than you seeing a psychologist every month, why don't you see them every fortnight and see if you're getting better without medication? So at least there's like, rather than no, you have to take medication. So they don't force you here. So that's what I have.
As a nurse or any other profession, why joining union is
It
important in
is such a good
Australia?
question you asked. I mean, I had no idea about union. I had no idea. Like, there's some things that you don't have idea about. No one speaks about it. And when you are in that situation, like when you're in the trouble, they're like, what do you do? So I think joining a union, as especially as a nurse, is very, very important because we are in a profession where we deal with lives of people every day. It's like an insurance that covers you. If you are in a situation where you find yourself at fault, at least you should know what you should be doing legally. How can you protect yourself? There's someone to speak for you. So these union are a group of people who work for your welfare, who work for your pay rise, who work for your working rights, who have like legal guidance on what to do. So I think it's basically like covering you from all the aspects, and especially if you were in a very toxic workplace. I think I was the same workplace which was very toxic. They were planning and plotting how you can make this person lose their registration. They used to come with that mindset. And here you are going to work, right? At least, even if I'm not doing anything wrong, I should know that I'm covered so that I can confidently go to work. So I think having nursing union and support is very, very important to have that peace of mind and you know that you have support and you are covered. So yeah. Also with unions, because there's so many different unions, right? So it's hard to choose what is the right one. So I was with this nursing union for 2 years and it was costing me so much money. I never researched. I was like, okay, I'm with the union. But I think you need to do your research as well because recently I found a new union and I'm saving around $350 a year, which is a good amount of money, I could say. So even if you join something, be updated and do your research because like union, what are the chances of you using a union? It's very rare, right? You're not going to be in that situation where you're in trouble. So these things you need to do your research, but I would recommend all the nurses joining a union, even if your workplace is good, bad, you never know because our profession is high risk profession.
Neha, it was great talking with you. Thank you for attending the next week podcast and sharing your experience
Thank you
regarding
so
the nursing career.
inviting me again. It's
Thank you
like
so
you
much.
giving me this opportunity to share my experience means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.